Hello and welcome to the Billion Dollar Broker Podcast. My name is Ross LeCane. I'm bringing my 25 years industry experience together with leading experts around the globe to give you the insights on how to live a better life and grow a profitable mortgage broking business that you are proud of. Welcome to another edition of the Billion Dollar Broker. Really excited about today's agenda. I've got Rodney Bosland, who has made a massive impact in my life. Out of all the people that we had sort of advising us in our Aussie business, Rodney was key to our success and key into terms of making us think bigger. Today, we're going to have a chat to Rodney, and we're going to talk about, when we first met and a bit of our journey in terms of where we got to within our Aussie business. But Rodney has since moved from being a business consultant to being a broker in his own right. And in the last 7 years, he's now the top retail broker within an Aussie store within New South Wales, and a successful broker in his own right. So not only does he have the business consulting and management background, he's also jumped the fence and is an excellent broker in his own right. So we're going to be talking today, a bit about the story and a bit about some of the great things that Rodney's picked up from the business that he's coached, but also his life in terms of transitioning to a broker. So welcome, Rodney.
Thanks, Ross. Nice to be here.
So in terms of, we're good mates, and I've known you for a long time. Obviously, when we met way back when in sort of 2005, and, just keen to, really sort of unpack the journey in terms of, you going from your days. I guess you started in Mortgage Choice, was it? When did you start with Mortgage Choice?
So back in 2001, I joined Mortgage Choice. It was a sales and marketing consulting role, like business development manager. And I'd already been in sales probably about 10, 15 years. And that's probably where I learnt my trade in the finance industry. It was great, built up a lot of good friends, and but like everything, moved on to Wizard and then to Aussie. So it's been a very exciting journey. I think the most important thing is find what you're passionate about and what you enjoy doing. And two of those is in the finance industry, which is helping people and also selling. I just enjoy, I suppose, the thrill of the kill, selling products and helping people. So I get the benefit of both worlds.
Love it. So when you think back to your business consulting days, what were some of the key attributes with the successful brokers that you worked with?
Oh, look, good question. So really, when you're saying top franchisees, I always took care of 20, 25 stores. And there was a third of the stores that really wanted to work with you, a third that probably, just suffered you, and then a third that had their own mindset and you couldn't change it. I suppose I always worked with the top third, and Ross, when I was at Aussie, you were one of those. And probably the key thing, I think, was they don't take feedback as criticism. They take feedback as feedback, and they go, oh, okay, so what do you mean? And they start asking questions. So probably one of the things when I was a business coach, a lot of my customers and the franchisees who have become good friends probably didn't like me so much up front because I was pretty forward. But as I didn't take the feedback as criticism, they go, well, let's work. How can we make this guy help us with our business? And that's one of the things you did. I mean, that's one of the reasons your business went so well, is you and Scott went, okay, let's have a listen to what he has to say and how can we do it. And the other thing probably then is, once you've sort of heard the feedback, is to go, what are we going to do? And realistically, you can have a thought, and it's until you put it into action, nothing happens. So that's probably the biggest thing, I think, with whether it was Mortgage Choice, Wizard, Aussie, or even customers now, unless you put it into action, you could have all the best feedback in the world, and it's really not going to do anything.
Yeah, exactly right. And I think, and again, you're quite direct in terms of your feedback, and you're probably right. At times I've probably felt like telling you to nick off, but then you sit back and you reflect, right? And it's the same thing around that I explained to brokers around getting their customers to think a different way, that you need to challenge and educate them so they can take on board that. And some people are going to be sitting below that, what I call below the line. They're going to be acting in that victim mentality, and they're never going to do anything. And I guess that's your bottom third of people. But part of, as you mentioned, working with the franchisees, working with that 30% of people who are willing to be guided and to be led, right? So I think it takes a bit of self-awareness to get over your own ego and realize that, hey, I don't have the answers. I'm going to be willing to, listen. And again, I think that was something that I took away from you when we were working together, that you always challenged me, right? So there was plenty of people in head office that said, hey, Ross, you're the number one franchise. You're doing really, really well. But in your own mind, compared to others, you're doing well. But from a potential point of view, I knew I had a lot more to give, right? So the reason that I loved working with you was you didn't take where I was at. You took where I was at and pushed me further than where I was at, forced me to look at, well, what's next? What's possible? Rather than saying, hey, you're doing well with the status quo. And I think, whether it's we're looking at the people that we're working with or the clients, one of the things is to look at what's possible, look at the light within them and be that mirror that reflects that to them, right? And if we're that mirror that reflects that to them, then the potential for them goes to the next level. I think that's key as part of being a business consultant. Would you agree?
Absolutely. I like the word potential, because I when I'm direct, I always watch the reaction, and then I see it comes down to that, probably the first 10, 15 seconds when you give the feedback, and it's maybe tough love, as my parents used to call it, tough love. And then you see them swallow, and then they ask, it's what happens next, the next reaction, to see how much potential they got, where they are, whether they're here, where they can go to the next step. And they swallow, and then they go, what do you mean? Or how do you mean? Or they ask the what, why, how questions, which is, what do I need to do? Then I know, it's like fishing, I've caught them. I go, okay, let's see what we can do. So it's interesting. I know you've probably heard this story 1,000 times. I talk about comfort zones. People are in comfort zones. And I always say to you is it really comfortable? Is it really comfortable? Or are you just comfortable in an uncomfortable zone because you don't know what you don't know? And once you go to the new comfort zone, you go, oh yeah, really, that was uncomfortable. Like we did when the GFC hit, and we sat down and we sort of planned what we were going to do. We were comfortable. We were all comfortable. The GFC sort of turned it on its head, and we all had to go, okay, what's the next step? What are we going to do? And but once 3 months in, we're in this new comfort zone, going from what I think we were writing 7-8 million to 40 million a month. I mean, that would never have been a comfort zone for any of us until we pushed ourselves and we sort of took on the challenge.
Yeah, which brings us back to the point, and a big part of the reason I wanted to get you on the podcast today, Rod, was because you were there at that point when we did go from 7 or 8 mil to $40 million months, where we really took that opportunity at the GFC. And I think at the point you were made redundant at that point, and we're like, oh, we don't want to lose you, Rod. Well, let's and you sort of hatched this grand plan for us to really take advantage of, when Wizard was dying and it was sort of bought by Aussie, we were left with that opportunity with a lot of our sort of GE customers were out of the market, and we combined a couple of Wizard businesses at that point in time. And, with your guidance, sort of we hatched a plan in terms of what we were going to do to obviously, take advantage of that. So you want to talk a bit about what you remember from those days?
Oh, I mean, yeah, the GFC hit, and then it was just all of a sudden, GE goes, that's it, we're selling. And Wizard was going to transform into morph into what, CBA owning us, and Aussie owning us, and Pepper taking some of the book as well. And they literally gave us, I was made redundant, and we were given 4 months or 4 or 5 months, I think it was, to rewrite that book. And so it was forced upon us. So it's almost like someone put a gun against our head and said, you've got to do this. and some people reacted badly and sort of folded and closed their businesses. And yeah, the Parramatta business, we stepped up, and so I suppose it started with an idea. We all got excited about that, and then we just pretty much started to formulate. I've got a saying that I use all the time, that processes produce predictable and repeatable results. We just basically started putting processes around a plan, and then started implementing, getting the IT, getting the infrastructure in place, desks. I think, if I remember, it was quite funny. We were going to employ about 10 or 15 people overnight. We had 3 desks, and we're going, where are we going to put everybody? And we're sort of going, oh, don't worry about that. We'll sort that out. Let's just write the loans.
Yeah.
So we had people sharing desks. We had builders coming in overnight. It was just really putting the basics in, everything that we talked about. I mean, normally I would say, look, preparation prevents piss poor performance, and it does, but we just use the GE methodology, which is get it 80% right and we'll be successful. Just do it. So I think that's probably the big thing, Ross. I think Scott and I can't remember the third guy's name, but now he's John.
Yeah.
And we just said, let's just do it. Bugger it. Let's just go for the ride. And it was a hell of a ride. We were a white knuckle ride, but it was exciting. And the amount of people going in and out of our building on a daily basis would have been funny to watch. But yeah, we just took the bull by the horns and did it.
Exactly. And that's something I've always admired you for, is that you got in and did it, right? Even though you're at a level where we were paying you a business consultancy fee to come and sort of work in our business during that time, you weren't afraid to be on the front lines, and you spent, a good part of your day actually, on the phones yourself, just picking up the phones and booking in appointments for the brokers.
Yeah, I think I mean, that was probably a learning, because I thought because with people, I think call reluctance is the biggest issue. And do I get afraid to call? Absolutely. There's always a fear, and I say it to my oldest daughter now. You may feel fear, but just do it anyway. And so we had call center operators, and we just got on the phone. But again, it was about, well, I made that phone call, but I used to take a couple of minutes just to prepare myself to go, why am I making this phone call? How will I make a difference in this person's life? And I do that every time I pick up the phone now when I get a lead. How am I going to make a difference in this person's life? So I'm always thinking, what's my value add? What am I actually doing here? But booking in appointments, I think we ended up putting in a joint calendar in for everybody, so we could see everybody. And just booked them in. I think there was brokers there. I don't think they'd ever done more than 2 or 3 appointments in a day, and we were booking like 8 appointments in a day, whether that was via phone or face to face. So, but it was good. It was good. The customers were really responsive. Occasionally, you'd ring up a customer and say, "Oh, look, I can save you $5,000." They go, "They're not interested," and you go, "Really?" And whether they just didn't believe us, but we're the amount of money that we saved customers in terms of interest rates and stuff was phenomenal. I don't think we ever tracked that, but it would have been good to have tracked that.
Oh, it would have been great to track that. So, and you're right, that led us to really do volumes. And I guess the reason why I wanted to chat to that about today is because I see, if you read the headlines, you'd think it's another GFC. Like there's, doom and gloom in the market in terms of raising rates, the potential for high inflation, what's going to happen with the economy, what's going to happen with the market. And so we've seen, purchase business slow down a little bit, where brokers now need to be proactive, and they now need to do exactly what you said in terms of transition. And we're talking that rates haven't gone up for 7 years or something now. So a lot of brokers that have started recently within the market have never seen a market where rates increase and the market actually slows down, right? Where they have to be more proactive and take that step, and maybe they haven't been picking up the phone, and their existing database, there's opportunities sitting in there that they haven't capitalized on, right? So in terms of what you were saying around that core reluctance is just really focus on the value that you're going to add and pick up the phone and do it anyway.
Yeah. I'll just share my first sales manager, first day. This is what he told me. These are the 4 or 5 tips that he gave me. He said, Johnny on the spot gets the job. And I went, what do you mean by that? He said, just go out and visit the stores, right? So that's one of my jobs. I was, well, sales, going visiting stores. He said, the second is answer the phone. I went, okay, that sounds normal. I said, he says, just when it answers, pick it up. I went, okay. One of my biggest customers just by picking up the phone when everybody else was thinking about lunch, and I just walked past, heard the phone ring, picked it up. Do what you say you're going to do. So actually do it. If you're going to promise something, just do it and add value. I've spoken about that one. And the other one, and I always, and it comes down to presentation, he always said at your first appointment, always wear a jacket. Now, I don't wear a jacket anymore, but I always present well. So customers see me how I want myself to be presented. But really, again, answering the phone and Johnny on the spot, you're never going to make a sale if you're talking to yourself. You've got to be talking to people.
Yeah, I gave BDMs that feedback quite often. I don't know if it got through, but I used to try to, you just pick up the phone, right? It's not that hard a job, right? But yeah, I know what you're saying. It's definitely, I love those points. And again, showing up, right? Just showing up, doing the boring stuff day in, day out. Is this the consistency is the thing that leads to success, right? So that was the GFC days, and then I think you went back to Aussie, and we worked together, over the next, I guess, 5 years, between sort of 2010 and sort of 2015, and they were the years we sort of got to the #1 Aussie franchise, and you were a big part of sort of, as I said, that continual involvement, constantly talking to us about what was next, which sort of led to that success. And again, I think you got in and you were prepared to not only talk to us, but to talk to the staff and get your hands dirty, which really made a big difference within our business. So what were some of the things that you learnt from the franchises that sort of set you up to be a successful broker like you are today?
Look, again, everything I did, everything I do now is from what I learned from training and teaching you guys. Like whether that's database, and database is a critical part because people want to feel that they're valued. So database is regular contact with the customers. At the moment, I think I've been preparing for this increase in the interest rates for about 4 or 5 months. It's just renegotiating all the interest rates on for every single customer. That's probably my single biggest marketing tool. So I negotiate the rates, I send them texts, I have conversations with them, and they're really appreciative of it. Now, that was something brokers didn't tend to do. They never used to touch their database. They were always looking at the next deal, but not focusing on what the customers they had, because it's easier to convert an existing customer than it is to convert a brand new customer. So that's probably one thing, applying database principles and actually constantly touching base with customers. I realized it's a very lonely business because you're always, it's me and it's my customers. That's why I enjoy that environment where, we go away on events and we actually talk about business, and that's critical for me, making sure that I'm always stretching my mind to see what are you guys doing, what's happening in the industry, especially now with yourself. I can ask you questions. What are other brokers doing? So it's having that learning to have a network of people, like-minded people, to push me, and I need it. I need pushing. I push myself pretty hard, but you still need to see what other people are doing. The other thing as well is I took away from one of the things that I know you taught my sister as well, in terms of how to do broking, was sort of plan for the customer and work backwards, because it's not just a single product that you're selling them, it's a solution. So a lot of the words I use are partnership. As part of the partnership, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to be here in 10 or 15 years time. I've won so many customers that way because customers want someone in their corner. So that's me. I'm in their corner. I always jest that I hate all the banks equally. It's actually not a jest. I do, because they are very frustrating. But my job is to take care of my customers, and so get the best result for them time in, time out. And again, they reward me with their loyalty and with referrals. So, and all that is just I was a coach longer than I should have been, because I should have been selling, because that's what I love doing, selling every day. I should have jumped ship earlier and become a broker earlier. But I also, the problem is I love what I did. And working with you guys, especially when you sort of hit that $1 billion loan book, it was exciting. I mean, I was excited for you guys. I mean, yeah, you made more money than I did, but it was exciting just to help you achieve that result. That's what really gets me out of bed every morning and say, how can I help someone do better?
Yeah.
So that's what inspires me.
Love it. And that's, and that's what it's about, right? It's about others. It's about helping others regardless, and that's what really fulfills within that extra, 100K or extra property that you earn, isn't going to do it. It's sort of what comes from within, and really giving to others is massive. So I love that. And some really, good tips in terms of that you've taken away from the database, from your network, from constantly learning and pushing yourselves from what others in the network are doing. So some really good stuff there. So if we, again, in terms of when you made that transition from coach to broker and you use some of those key things, in terms of, I know in terms of following your sort of business, you start off trying to do a lot of it yourself, and now more recently you've got a team in place. So what has been the impact when you've actually started to sort of practice what you preached back then, and now done it for yourself and got a team in place?
Oh, look, you'd know this. I was a control freak, so I'd like to control every little bit. Like when I was the consultant, I'd get my hands on, I'll get my hands dirty and working every day. It's that step back, and with not stepping back and doing less, I'm probably actually doing more. But I've now got my PA who does my loan packaging and lodgements and following up settlements, which I used to do myself pretty much. And my field assistant as well, who also helps with speaking to customers. It's chalk and cheese. I've actually, where I was very stressed out and didn't have time for myself, I've now got a bit of time. Both of my assistants are my sisters, and I love working with them every day. It's fantastic. They live in WA, so I'm a family man. So yeah, it's always tough living away from my family, but I love working with them. They're really good. They've got attention to detail. They're very like me. And my big sister loves selling. So yeah, my big sister, probably my customers love her more than me. But at the end of the day, if you've got people who are passionate, it just makes the day fun. It makes it fun, where it wasn't becoming fun because I was doing everything myself. Now I've got a team around me and they push me and they ask me questions, and but I can sort of knock off at the end of the day and go, I can trust my PA and my field assistant to keep the business running, and I can start to take time off. Will I grow my business again? Absolutely. I think I need a few more people in the business to train up, because I know I can't do this forever. I've probably got another 8-10 year plan where I can, face to face, but I'd like to step back a little bit more. But yeah, I was probably, if I reflect back, I was probably one of those franchisees who's getting the best advice but didn't do it. But I've, Ross and Billy and a couple of other mates are also in the finance industry. They kept telling me, you've got to do this, you've got to do this. And then when I finally did it, I got that aha moment and went, yeah, I'm an idiot. I should have done this earlier.
Yeah, and I remember Scotty was a bit the same, if you look back, right? So Scott, my brother, who was partners in the business, I sort of got my assistant invested and paid for it myself. And he was a bit of a control freak, similar to you, right? And it took us years to the point where I think he had so much volume that he was forced to do it. And I think some people get to that point where the pain becomes too much. And they can't control, right? They think they're in control, but they've got too much volume to control. So they finally let go of the reins and realize and give in, right? And Scott was the same, right? Once he made that decision, he definitely never went back. But, I think what it comes down to also is what you said before around, do that thing that you're passionate about. And you said to me, I love selling. Right? I love selling. I should have done it years ago. And I guess by doing what you've done in terms of putting your team in place, it's allowing you to do more of what you're passionate about and what you love.
Yep, 100%. So yeah, and that's what excites you. It gets you up every day. It
Mm.
gets you up every day, because otherwise it's a bit of a task going, oh, I've got to go to the office, I've got to write loans again, I've got to follow up this bank or whatever. That's all noise. I think I use this term, I coined this frame too many times. That's the $25 an hour jobs. Stop
Mm.
doing the $25 an hour jobs. Start doing the $250 an hour jobs, because
Mm.
that's where it's going to make the money. And there's people that love the $25 an hour jobs. That's fine, but yeah, don't do them yourself.
Oh, I love it. I call them the dollar productive activities. And I've probably got it from you, Rod, but I use that constantly in my coaching and my training around bang on. And everyone in my programs is probably sick of me hearing me talk about the dollar productive activities, but you're exactly right. And we've spoken before, it's not rocket science, this business, is it? And they're probably words of yours as well, right? So I know you're big on sort of keeping it simple. So if you were to advise someone on what does keeping it simple mean?
What does keeping it simple mean?
Yeah.
Ah, look, I don't do a lot of marketing, but what I do is effective.
Mm.
Yeah. So I, I do the pricing negotiations. I touch base with the customers. I pick up the phone. That's one. Pick up the phone. Two, look for the value every time. What value am I adding? Three, I think and I had a customer today, they asking me questions that nobody's ever asked me before. And I'm like, why are you asking that question? It's a good question, but what is it really you're trying to get to? So just go back to the basics. Why are you doing this? Are you buying this house for what? To live in? Are you buying this house to make money? What is it that you're trying to do? Just get down to the why. Keep the simple why. Because at the end of the day, if you can deliver the why, they're going to be happy with you.
Mm.
So I try not to overcomplicate it. I don't try to impress anybody. I just try to do my job really, really well, and hopefully I've helped people along the way. So I think probably one of my Billy, he'll use this one until probably to the day he dies. Big rocks and small rocks.
Mm.
Get the big rocks right. They're the ones that really are going to impact customers or impact your business. The little rocks, yeah, you can stack them in later, but if you do the little rocks first and forget about the big rocks, you'll never get the big rocks in. So keeping it simple is, just about, just do the job. Don't overcomplicate it. So
Exactly. Do the job. And then the other thing you mentioned, and we've spoken about before, was around the importance, and I guess we did this back in 2009, and you mentioned that the importance of having that process and having that plan, which again, in these difficult times, how important are they?
they're critical. So I don't know if I've said it already, but processes produce predictable and repeatable results. I use that catch cry all the time.
Mm.
When my PA came on board, I literally just had to write all the processes again, which I'd done hundreds of times for other businesses, but I hadn't done it for myself. So she just follows the process, bang, one after the other. It's just a ticker box. It's a 4-page A4. When this happens, this is the next thing happens. When this happens, the next thing. She follows that religiously. And it's not an option of can I do it slightly different? No, just follow the process. And it keeps her on track, and it gets the same result, whether it's customer A, B, or C, the same result. So when a customer refers them to me, they know they're going to get the same result. They know they're going to get the same email which says loan's been submitted. They're going to get the same text, which is a congratulations text with the fireworks. They know they're going to get the call at the 12-month mark. They're going to get the same. I know it seems boring. We talk about simple. It gets boring, but it's consistency. I've read a book called The Paradox of Choice, and they talked about that in one of the first chapters. Customer goes into the barber, and he goes in there, he gets his shave, gets his coffee, and gets a newspaper, and he thinks, oh, this is good. Got a good haircut as well. Came back the second time, what they did is they gave him a great haircut. They put a warm towel on his face, didn't give him the newspaper, gave him an orange juice. And that was a shock to his system, because he's like, hold on, I didn't get the same experience. So when they come back the third time, yeah, got a great haircut still, got the warm towel on the face, got the coffee, and got a magazine. And he was like, oh, the customers just want consistency. So again, processes give the customers consistency. They give the customers that they refer to the consistency. So the people that refer know they're going to get the same experience. And they know in 3 years' time, they're going to come back and go, oh, I need to fill in this form, customer information form. I need to provide these documents. He's going to ask me these questions. And so, yeah, the process keeps me on track. It keeps my staff on track. And it also keeps customers with that same consistent service. If the only thing you're going to do to change your process is improve it, is don't take away the things that are working.
Yeah.
My other sister, she came from different aggregator and different head brokers. And so when she came to mine, it was about the process, and now she just lives that process. So it's just consistency, and if you know that, the processes, again, as I say a million times, processes produce predictable and repeatable results. And that's a GE term that I learned when I was, when they owned Wizard. They just use that all the time as part of the Six Sigma. So, but yeah, get your processes right. Beg, borrow, or steal, even if they feel uncomfortable, even if they eventually, the first thing I do in any step is I already know what's the next step. So I do this and then I do the next step. And so my staff know it, I know it, my customers know it.
Love it. Love it. And yeah, I think there's some gold there, right? And in terms of, I know for me in the program, we talk a lot, and one of the big things that I teach is that $1 billion broker loan process. I'm currently, building out some systems at the moment and getting some experts in, so I can provide that as something that people can implement within their business, and it's automated to just make it happen. Because I think in everything we do, that process and planning is so important. So, and obviously that's led you to be, the top retail broker in a store in New South Wales, and you've sort of had that title for a number of years now. So, and most of your business would come from repeat and referral. Am I right?
Oh, absolutely. Yep, probably 90% now. 90%.
Yeah.
So, but I'm competitive. I'm a competitive animal. So even when I'm writing good loans, I go, how much more can I write? I just, how can I get more leads? So I'm always talking to the franchise owner and saying, those company source leads, I know I can convert them better than anybody else. So why don't you give me some more? And he shakes his head. He goes, Rod, don't you write enough? And I go, I can never write enough. My team want to write more. They want to do more work. So it's just my competitive spirit, I guess. I just want to write more. I wrote 80 mil, settled 80 mil last year. I want to do 100 this year. And that's probably small fry. I know I pushed you more than that. I said to you, well, you're writing 100 mil. Why not write 250 mil? And you go, well, that's ridiculous. And we'd hit 230. And I go, aim for the stars. If you miss, if you aim for the sun and you miss, you still become a star.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's keep pushing yourself. That's probably a good one.
Beautiful. And I think, this has sort of been a great conversation. We've spoken about, the days in a coach, what's led you to be a successful broker. And I think it's really fitting for the time in the market. If you were going to give one piece of advice to somebody that's really looking to scale their business, so to really take themselves to the next level, what would be that one piece of advice that you would give?
Face the fear, do it anyway.
Yeah.
Do it 100% every day, scale up. You'll be scared. It'll seem audacious, but do it anyway. Honestly, what's the worst that could happen? You write the same amount as you did last time. Get uncomfortable. It will be uncomfortable, and fear is just a normal mechanism in human beings. Fight or flight. But I see it in my kids. I've got one daughter who's got that fear mechanism, that fight or flight. She's got that flight mechanism, and she tends to hold back and doesn't really reach her potential every time. I've got another one that just goes, bugger it, I'm going to do it anyway. So, and then I've got a third that just sits back and sort of a bit more relaxed. All of those are good. There's nothing wrong in any of those, but just do it anyway. It's really, if you can upscale and get those $25 an hour jobs to someone else who loves doing that, and you can do the $250 an hour jobs, it's worth it. I mean, you'll get out of that comfort zone that you think's comfort zone, but it's actually an uncomfortable zone, and get into a newer paradigm, and do it every day. I know Ross challenges me. I go, yeah, I know, I've heard this, I've told that to you 100 times, and now you're telling me, and I know I need to do it. So, and I've done it. I've taken the plunge, and I know in once I bed this all down in 6-12 months, I'll do the next growth pattern. So.
Yeah, beautiful. And I think that leads us to the final comment. And I know we talk about it a lot, especially when we do our man walks, where we try to do a 3-day hike in 2 days. And so what's the saying that we quite often say, Rodney?
If it was easy, everybody'd be doing it.
Exactly. If it was easy, everybody would be doing it. I think that's a great way to finish this, and to, in terms of motivation for what's happening in the market. 70% of business is now being done by mortgage brokers. If you want to be that broker that is in the top few percent and actually takes market share in a market and economy that's trending downwards, you've got to be prepared to do the things that other people won't. And Rod, you've been a great example of what you've done and what you've achieved over the years. And, as a gratitude to you for everything you've done and how you've pushed me. I've loved, reminiscing and having a chat, and I've got a lot out of today, and I'm sure the other brokers that are listening would have got something out. So thank you.
No, thank you, Roscoe.
So this has been another episode of the $1 Billion Broker. So if you want to know more, subscribe to the podcast. You can view it at our website, billiondolarbroker.com.au. All the episodes are there, or on any of your podcast platforms. Secondly, join our Facebook group. It's a private group called the $1 Billion Broker on Facebook. And thirdly, if you want to put an inquiry, jump on our website and put an inquiry in. I'd love to jump on a 10-minute call to see how we can help you in one of our programs. Thanks again, and we'll catch you next time.